Thanks, Mr. President. This weekend, Americans around the country, at least a dozen places in my state of Ohio, will hold peaceful marches in their community demanding that we in this body, the people who represent them, actually do something to protect them from gun violence. Not just my thoughts and prayers are with the victims and the families, but actually do something. That sort of activism is so important to our democracy. Change never starts in Washington. We make progress because of grassroots movements of Americans across our country demanding action. For too long, Congress has ignored millions of Americans who want reasonable gun safety measures. Instead, this Congress continues to do the bidding of the gun lobby. We already see activism making a difference. This week, a minor step, but in the bipartisan budget deal, we finally will vote to loosen government regulations that severely limit research on gun safety. An important first step, but a long way to go. We can't say we're doing what it takes to keep our country safe until we're finally willing to pass common sense laws to protect all Americans from gun violence. Many of us have tried. I supported the original federal assault weapons ban in 1994, my first term in the Congress. I joined with many of my colleagues to vote to renew it after Sandy Hook. Weapons of war don't belong on our streets and in our classrooms. We've tried to pass legislation to close loopholes in our background check system so that people who buy guns on the internet or at gun shows have to go through the same background checks as law-abiding gun owners who buy their guns at stores in Ohio. After the tragedy at the Pulse nightclub in Orlando, we tried to pass legislation to prevent people on the terrorist watch list from buying guns. It's just, people can't believe the law in this country where if you're on the government terrorist watch list, you can't go out to Cleveland Hopkins Airport or John Glenn Airport in Columbus or National Airport in Washington. You can't go out and get on an airplane if you're on the terrorist watch list. That's the right thing. But you can go out and buy a gun. But we know what happened each and every time. The gun lobby stood in the way. They stood in the way despite the fact that the laws we're talking about would not undermine the rules and rights of law-abiding gun owners. I've always respected the rights of hunters and collectors and other law-abiding gun owners. No one is trying to take away their guns. But when our students aren't safe in school, it's clear something has to be done. We won't give up on making our country safer. We'll keep fighting until we get weapons of war out of our schools and off our streets. Creating change in our country is not easy. It requires often going up against powerful special interests. It's how things happen in this country. It's how women got the right to vote. It's how we passed civil rights. It's how we passed workers' compensation. It's how we passed Medicare. It's how we got Social Security. People banding together, activists around the country, pushing their country, pushing their government at the state level, at the county level, at the courthouse, at the Capitol in Washington, standing against powerful special interests and winning on behalf of the public. From the Women's March to airport rallies to the activism around the Affordable Care Act, last year Americans have proved over and over again the power of activism. The people who I will be with on Saturday, my daughters, my wife, my daughters, probably three of our grandchildren, the people that I will be with on Saturday will join hundreds of thousands all over this country in fighting on these issues. The people marching on Saturday, the ones who were elected to serve, were not elected to serve special interest gun lobbyists. These activists give me hope for the future. I hope my colleagues in this body begin to listen to the activists, not to the lobbyists. I note the absence of a quorum.